definitely. And the other one being some of the lads sort of diving onto their weak side. A lot of kids, I guess, naturally will have a strong side. A lot of goalkeepers do. Again, is it just practice? Start off maybe on your knees, or
so, definitely, and repetition for me. And exactly the same principle is that. As I said, a lot of the practices I do once I get in the goal, they don't know where the ball is going. The goalkeepers don't know where the ball is going, so it's not predictable. But within the warm-up, there's a time, obviously when they're warming up, that they're stepping into their right, stepping into their left. And for me, you're looking for a mirror image. So when you look at the goalkeeper, he looks equally comfortable working to his right as to working to his left. And sometimes that's about taking it back to basics, and you just said going off the knees. And I think with the goalkeepers as well is them actually understand, because people talk about stepping in, but the fundamentals are the reason to step in. Once you've stepped in, you're actually making a forward. It's a forward movement. You're loading your quad because you're stepping in. It dictates the angle of your dive. It's a better catch in shape. Because you're meeting the ball earlier, and then if you do need to parry or deflect, it goes wide. So I think as much as you can with the young goalkeepers, give them not what you want them to do, is give them the benefit. So you sell it to them then. This is the benefit of stepping in, of stepping into the ball. And ideally if they can do that as well on their left hand side, which might be their poor side to their right. Because at the end of it they've got to defend the goal. 192 square feet.
Is that right?
So they've got to be equally as good to their right as to their left.
Of course.
Because come match day, they don't get a decision. They've got to deal with the ball. So if it goes to their left, they've got to deal with it.
No, definitely, that's a huge point, especially the diving forward. Again, from experience, something that it's something very important. I suppose certain basic habits as a young kid. To get into a diving forward, obviously the set position that we spoke about before. I suppose another thing that gets brought up regularly is sort of vocally. How important is it for a keeper? Again, advice on this?
People say to me, because we get recommended goalkeepers for the international scene and whatever, and they say, he's a fantastic communicator. And you've got fantastic communication. So I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, he's really loud, and and I said, well, it isn't communication that I like. What I like is instruction. So the instruction is the most. Communication to me is that it needs to be early, it needs to be loud, it needs to be clear, But the crucial thing is the instruction. So whether it's as simple as keep it or away, that's an instruction. When he's talking about if a wide player receives and they're talking about getting pressure on the ball or the depth of the defenders or showing inside, showing outside, all those principles. So it's actually when you or if you wrote down how many things does a goalkeeper need to say, there's probably a dozen, 15 things that the goalkeeper actually needs to say. So we should have a menu of terminology to me, and that is basically instruction. So it's a massive part of the game, as we said, Ray Clements, a massive part of, if you can prevent it, then you don't have to deal with it. And I think with goalkeepers, sometimes the younger ones is not actually knowing what to say. I think once they know what you say, well, as I say, you've probably got about a dozen shouts in your game. It'd be interesting to put a mic on yourself playing and just seeing how much information you give, when you give it, and how many different shouts you use.
That was something for me growing up in particular was, and I went through a stage where I thought I was really good to talk about. Looking back now, it was more sort of commentating. You're talking to it, but then because you say that much, it has little effect. Whereas now I think it's, I suppose it's dictated by danger. So having realisation, there's no point chatting to the left winger, telling him what to do. But if you've got, I tend to concentrate on my back four the majority of the time, and anything that's central. So I guess any runners or anything they need to be aware of, they might not be. And obviously like you say, the basic shouts being, I guess, away, keepers, left shoulder, right shoulder, squeeze
in, slide, mark,
shuffle across the
show inside, show outside. There might be, as a goalkeeper, one of the I think most goalkeepers and goalkeeping coaches, you know, where you tend to show outside when you can, you know, but there might be a period where you need to get pressure on the ball or cover, or it might be that your fullback needs to just balance off, he needs to come a little bit narrower. You're talking probably 12-15 shouts, and you've got the goalkeeping dictionary as such.
Yeah, and by just clear, concise, saying them when needed, it has that much more impact.
Yeah.
I mean, that one you mentioned there, which way you show them, it might, if you know they've got a fantastic right foot and they can't play on the left foot, it may be again dictated by that as well. I guess there's so many different variables.
Yeah, it's you know, this is becoming a major, especially within international football now, a major thing, showing inside, showing outside, because a lot of the teams now play with right footers on the left hand side of the pitch.
So then it is.
And statistically, once you start getting into that area, and UEFA call it, or FIFA call it Zone 14, which is basically an area which is pretty much just outside the 18-yard box. It's typically where the number 10 plays, you know, in terms of international football. You know, the player who plays off the front, and if you play a holding midfield player, it tends to be the area that he's sort of screening the defenders. And that's where most goals are created from. You know, so why would you want to show people inside, especially if you're showing them in onto their strong side? Because once they come inside, the goal becomes bigger. Show them outside, it becomes smaller. You know, if you show them outside, your view doesn't get blocked. Show them inside, your view can get blocked. You know, the movement of the ball. So there's all
small details.
You know, once you start showing inside, if he doesn't strike at goal, he can play into front men's feet. You know, the offside rule now favours the front man, so you can get blindside runs, and you know, the amount of detail once you start showing inside, it can cause a lot of problems. So I'm of the gospel, if you're in any doubt, keep them outside, don't let them come inside. But that's me.
No, brilliant. Well, I think that's a good way to round it off, and I guess the biggest thing, given so much more to goalkeeping that perhaps meets the eye, and hopefully with some of this, you know, it's given people some food for thought, and they can go off and obviously do their own research on this. And obviously a massive thank you for your time. I'm sure again
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice. Good to chat goalkeeping. It's great stuff. Cheers, Tom.
Thanks, Rick.
Great stuff.